Good afternoon, Mel Madison, number 3. So as you're the first on the draw, but we're going to be asking the question as folks continue joining the page or joining the profile, joining the program. Trump in 2024, a resurgence of President Trump. Let's say MAGA 2024 turns out to be victorious. Trump is reinstated back in office a little bit over 2 years from now. What would America be like? That is what we're going to tackle today. Now, obviously, this is all speculation. We all have our own independent thought process. A lot of us will believe that the economy will be a hell of a lot better come 2024. Now, what about other issues in this country? Now, let's start out. I'm going to give you some examples. Dynasty, the Colbys, Knots Landing, Dallas. A lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. These are 80s soap operas. Yes, I am an 80s baby. If you got a problem with that, cash me outside. What was something that all of these had in common? There was no one broke. Now, we would see a Trump 2024 election as potentially bringing the economy back on par. Similar to the soap operas. Everybody's bank accounts is looking good again. But what else do soap operas have in common? And for you 90s babies, we could talk about Beverly Hills 9021, Melrose Place, and for the woke generation, Queer as Folk. Whatever the case you want to bring up, I'm just simply suggesting that when you look at soap operas, no one is broke. This is Trump 2024. The economy's great. I'm giving them the notion that he would get the economy back on par. I'm not even arguing whether that is true or not. But what else do soap operas have in common? Chaos, corruption, backstabbing, revenge. This is what you get out of a soap opera. Everybody's bank accounts look fantastic, but everybody hates each other. No one trusts each other. What does this obviously have in common with Trump being a resurrection of MAGA, a resurrection of Trump in 2024? This is what I'm pointing out. Now, we can take the liberals out of the picture. I understand my audience, my preferred audience. This is a MAGA-friendly audience. I prefer MAGA all day, every day. I'll go to the box in a minute. In regards to what America would be like under Trump, taking the liberals out of the picture, make no mistake about it, there are plenty of Republicans, whether they spoke critical of Trump on January 6th, folks who participated in one or both of the impeachments, folks who do not believe the election was held improperly. Make no mistake about it, a Trump 2024 re-election campaign will put a bullseye on all of those backs of those Republicans. They will all be deemed as rhinos, enemies of the administration. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about that. If Trump is reelected, all of those Republican politicians who did not participate in calling the election the way Trump saw it, calling the impeachments the way Trump saw it, calling out the January 6th investigation or hearings or whatever you want to suggest it is, Trump will go after all of those folks. Why the hell am I bringing this up? Because a lot of my MAGA folks, my beloved audience, suggest that Trump in 2016 was never given a shot from day one. Folks viewed him as an enemy, never gave him a fair chance. So I have to ask the question before I go to the box. If he takes office in 2024 and starts taking revenge on all of those Republican enemies, what are the chances that they would give him a chance from day one in 2024? Just want to talk about that. The box is open. Let's make it happen with the... Good afternoon. Welcome back to the program. The Chunky Asian. How are you?
What's up, boss?
None at all. None at all. Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think? Do you think that Trump in 2024 could run a successful campaign with so many detractors on the Republican side of the aisle?
I think whoever gets the nomination is going to win. I think America's pretty much tired of Democrats.
Okay, fair. And I'm not here to argue that. I absolutely agree that Biden's poll numbers are horrendous. I'm not suggesting that Biden could run again and have a competitive chance, but I'm suggesting, let's say Trump got the nomination and Trump was reelected. Do you believe he could run a campaign without chaos?
I don't believe anybody's going to run and campaign without chaos. I don't think it's. I agree with your point, but I also don't think it's unique to him. I think the other side of the aisle lives on chaos, and to be honest with you, like, it's time for Republicans, in my opinion, to stop losing with pride and to start winning with dirt.
Okay. I've never heard it that way. Well, let's take your phrase, Republicans with an S. That's plural. That's what I'm asking. If Trump was to get reelected, could he circle the wagons among Republicans? Could he get unity within the Republican Party? Now, you suggested that we're tired of Democrats, etc. I'm not arguing with that. I do strongly believe if Ron DeSantis got elected, he could circle the wagons with Republicans. I'm talking unity in the Republican Party. We're not talking about liberals. I get the job and the goal of the liberals is to upset the Republican campaign and vice versa. They don't cooperate with each other. We understand that. But in regards to being unified in the parties, the Democratic Party is not attacking President Biden to any significance. Trump claims that there are a lot of rhinos and swamp creatures within his own party. So I'm asking, could Trump actually circle the wagons within his own party?
I'd venture to say that if he'd have had a straight 8 years, if he'd have had a straight 8 years, I would have said, you're never gonna completely. Okay, I'm a firm believer in fruit from the poisonous tree. You familiar with that?
Yes, that's a legal term. Yes.
So I believe that anything that a poisonous tree creates is going to be poisonous, and I'm a firm believer that the way our taxation system is set up right now is theft and robbery. So you can't create something good from something that's evil.
Okay.
Uh,
So go ahead.
and I stress that by saying, like as long as you feed that tree with evil, it doesn't matter what side wins. It's always going to produce evil.
Okay, so here's the difficulty in that though. If you are a Republican leader, Trump in 2024, and you believe that there is a lot of swamp creatures and rhinos on your own team, how can you enact your legislation, keeping America great, making America great after Biden's been in office? How can you do any of that if you're actually forced to operate with a team of rhinos and people you can't trust? You only have 4 years in office. There's only one election that Trump will now be over, and that is the 2026 midterms. In other words, how can he enact any of this stuff to make America great in such a short time period with a team of people he cannot trust?
Well, you're about to find out in 2022 what's going to happen. In 2022, what's going to happen, because those midterms, I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. And look, if I'm wrong, I'll come back on in camera and put my shoe in my mouth because I'll admit that I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you've
Yep.
always been very cordial with me every time we talk. If I'm wrong, I'll come on here and admit I was wrong. But I think after November 2022, uh, I believe everything's going to be on his side of the aisle. And I think you're actually seeing people he endorsed beating out people he called rhinos. So,
Well, let me not totally though. I mean, I do agree.
well, I
He's
never
he
said it
it's
was 100%.
right. Right. I do agree his endorsement makes a difference, but I will suggest that in 2022, later this year in November, you're just looking at a lame duck president in terms of Joe Biden for the next 2 years. So I don't know how much that's going to help the Trump administration, other than it will prevent President Biden from doing any further enacted any further left-wing legislation. But what I'm suggesting is when Trump comes in office in 2024, keep in mind, Trump suggested when he came in office in 2016, he was going to drain the swamp. And after being in office for 4 years, it's very difficult to name any swamp creature that was drained. For the most part, the folks that lost their jobs during the Trump administration are people that he hired and he brought on. But the Mitt Romneys and the Liz Cheneys and the Mitch McConnells, the people that the right dislike now, they survived his entire 4 years. And most likely, the Senate job in Kentucky, the Senate job in Utah, are Mitt Romneys and Mitt Romney's and Mitch McConnell's for as long as they want them. I don't believe Trump's endorsement could get rid of Mitch McConnell, and he's been against Mitt Romney since day one. So some of his endorsements, I agree, make a difference, but I'm just trying to figure out what kind of party would he be governing in 2024 with so many people he still can't trust. They're not all going to be gone in the midterms, as you just admitted. By the way, folks, tap the screen, get me up to 5,000. The Chunky Cajun, continue.
No, I hear you, brother. I agree with you 100%. I wouldn't even argue that point that he's not going to be able to get rid of everybody. There's just some people are just entrenched in where they're at. I mean, if you look at the district that Nancy Pelosi runs, it's terrible, but she keeps winning.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people, Mark Twain said it best when he said it's way easier to convince, it's harder to convince somebody they're a fool than just to fool them.
Fair point. So I guess the question I would ask you is, once he gets in office again, we're speculating here, but we're gonna assume he wins in 2024. There's no guarantee that'll happen, but for the sake of this discussion, we're assuming he wins in 2024.
I wish he wouldn't run. I wish DeSantis would run.
You say that again?
I wish he wouldn't run. I wish he would let DeSantis run, because DeSantis could have 8 years.
Let me ask that question. I'm going to ask this to the audience once again. I've asked it before, but I'm real curious because my audience is overwhelmingly MAGA. This is a MAGA-friendly zone. I prefer talking to MAGA, in fact. In my audience, I want you guys to put in, who would you prefer running, DeSantis or Trump? Now, I understand there's plenty of MAGA here, nothing but love for MAGA by a lot of my audience. But if you actually had the choice, who do you think would be better to top the Republican ticket, like what my caller is saying, DeSantis or Trump? I'm real curious to see that, where you guys are going with that right now. But Chunky Cajun, I got to part ways with you. I do appreciate you coming through once again, man. Got the box moving.
Have a good one.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, looking at the comments. Still, Candace Owens, child of God said Candace Owens. You need plenty of help from the deity to get Candace Owens in there. Looks like Merritt Johnson is saying DeSantis. There's a lot of folks who still believe that Trump should be at the top of the ticket as opposed to DeSantis. But I do see Problem Child. Looks like, what is that? Built Tackle. Okay. Some of you guys are saying, and I do agree with you, Built. You're saying DeSantis has a better chance of swinging votes. And that is something we do need to consider, whether you're on the left or the right. A lot of our elections are decided by independents. The folks on the far left, the folks on the far right, you're not going to change their mind no matter what you do. It is oftentimes placed in the hands of independents. And I would agree with the comment that DeSantis could probably swing more votes than Trump, at least now. Clearly, Trump did that when he was running against Hillary Clinton. Trump has some of the best numbers among African Americans in recent Republican history. But I believe at this point, with the Stop the Steal, January 6th, and a lot of conflict among other Republicans, I don't believe Trump has anywhere near the same amount of power in terms of swinging independents and swinging moderates as he used to. I believe some of that has been lost, just like with Biden. Biden came in as supposedly, allegedly going to be a moderate candidate, was going to unite the country. And then he started listening to the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, and he went further left. Trump has went significantly further to the right. So, yes, swinging votes would be very difficult for Trump at this point. America needs a good leader. I do not disagree with that, Abby. What happened January 6th? Scout, nothing. It just preceded January 7th. 2 years is still a long time. Lots of governors have failed. That is true. And that's what I'm asking, folks. I understand. I'll go to the box in a minute. I understand that everybody wants the economy back under Trump. Our bank accounts are doing better. Goods and services cost less. But I painted the picture starting off at the beginning of the broadcast where I mentioned Dallas, Knots Landing, Dynasty, the Colbys. Yeah, I'm a child of the 80s, whatever. For you 90s kids, Melrose Place 90210. And for you woke generation, how about Queer as Folk? I'm just simply suggesting in the soap operas, there is plenty of money in everybody's bank accounts. There is very little poverty on a soap opera. However, there is lots of chaos, conflict, backstabbing. Hell, Dallas JR was shot. For all of you guys who remember the 1980s, the big who shot JR campaign, there's plenty of chaos. So I'm just trying to point out that just because everybody has money, everybody has a fat bank account, does not mean the country will be happy. That's how you see it in the soap operas. Everyone has money. No one is impoverished. And they are the most unhappy characters you can have. If you bring Trump back and he has a bullseye on the back of a host of politicians, a lot of them being Republican, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have conflict. And that's assuming the economy and the price of goods and services are placed under control and things get better. I'm just simply saying that if Trump comes back with all of these targets and all of this division within the Republican Party, securing the border, getting the economy back on track, and all of these other things might actually take a back seat in regards to targeting what he perceives as enemies. Keep in mind, after the November election of 2020, Trump essentially stopped being president. He was so focused on getting the election held properly or maintaining his place in power or whatever you want to call it, stopping it still, he essentially stopped being president of the country. So keep that in mind. He has a lot of enemies to deal with if he gets reelected. Okay, looking at the box, Sarcasm King. New caller.
Hey,
We're always welcoming new callers. MAGA friendly zone. Sarcasm King, how is it going this afternoon?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Have you been listening to the program?
I have. And I'm one
So
that's big on Ron 2024, not Trump 2024.
let me ask you on your own personal level, what would make you choose DeSantis over Trump?
I would say his veterinary background. He's a vet. He used to be in the military. And if you look at history, typically, not always, but typically, those have been the better presidents. Because when you're in the military, you're taught leadership qualities, and a lot of times too, other sergeants, generals help you get leadership because they see those qualities from afar.
I don't know about that. The reason I would say that is because a lot of times you get vets in there, and I absolutely have nothing but respect for vets who are willing to put their lives on the line for our country, but they also tend to be more leaning towards taking military action than non-vets. I mean, was Ronald Reagan a veteran? I don't believe Ronald Reagan was a vet. JFK was not a vet. We've had some really good leaders that were not veterans. I don't was FDR, was he a veteran? Some of our best presidents in U.S. history were not veterans. Am I getting that wrong?
No, you're not wrong in that. I was just saying I'd pick him over Trump specifically because of that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Because
But other than that, let's take the veteran out of the picture. Let's take him being a veteran out of the picture. You think they'd be more equal?
no, just because I'm not a big fan of Trump. I'm a conservative middle guy. And the reason why I'm not a big Trump supporter is just he seemed to be more of a divider. Um, and when the whole January 6th thing, he knows what he was doing. No one holds a big rally that day and not know what's going to happen, in my opinion.
Did you support Trump in 16 or 20? And by the way, folks, I see you in the comments pointing out my error in regards to JFK being a vet. I see the Navy vet, and the caller did that as well. My ignorance. Appreciate the correction. But in regards to January 6th, did you support Trump in 2020 or 2016?
I did in 16, but I changed by 2020 and actually didn't vote for him the second time.
After that economy? So what made you not vote for him in 2020, considering that the country was running fairly well economically under Trump? I'm really curious about that.
Well, for me, that's not everything in leadership. Like people really want to say, "Oh, well, the economy is well, yeah," but that doesn't mean the country's doing well.
Hence the
And
soap opera comparison I was
right,
making.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so I think as humanity in our society specifically, we weren't doing well. Like, yeah, we had more money in our pockets, but our morals were going downhill when he was
yeah,
president because he brought a lot of anger out.
yeah.
Like when Obama was president, I wasn't the biggest fan, but you didn't see all these riots going on.
You know, that's interesting because I get a lot of that from my viewers, and they bring up often, anytime you bring up January 6th, it's inevitable that Black Lives Matter of 2020 comes up. And I do bring that up is that
Right.
for all of the folks who compare January 6th to Black Lives Matter, I'm like, you do realize all of that happened under Trump as well. So you do make an interesting
Yeah.
point there.
Yeah. And that's where I disagree with most of my conservative friends because it's like, look, they're both bad. And you're sitting there saying the Democrats believe that only one's bad. It's not true. I've
Yeah.
talked to friends on both sides, and we all agree that both are bad. The issue is one was trying to change an election.
Yeah. Well, I get a lot of my MAGA folks who believe that it was just a protest and they had no intentions of actually changing the election. Florida, real quick, Florida Patriot in the comments, you're saying, let me guess, I'm going to be blocked. If you want to be blocked, I would suggest you go to a different channel, a different live streaming comment. We do not block commenters here. If you get blocked on this broadcast, it is from TikTok. 100% free speech here. I get guests that come on all the time and insult the hell out of me. So you do not get blocked here. This is a MAGA friendly zone, no snowflakes. You get to say what you want to say. That is the whole goal of this forum. So in other words, you can see, and I'm talking to you, sarcasm. So you can see the division in President Trump. So you don't think it would be good for a second term of Trump for this country?
Absolutely not, because if you look at the whole rhino thing, that's already starting to divide right there.
Fair enough. Okay.
Like
Well,
he's already doing it, and he's not even running yet.
And I kind of wonder that how could he govern, because I get that all the time, is that they never gave him a chance from day one, and it's like when you are that as you say divisive, or you're pointing out, you're attacking folks that much. Yeah, I don't see how he could come back and get a lot of assistance from the Republican Party with enacting legislation and leading the country in the way he wants, because he would
Right.
have so many enemies among his own party.
Exactly. And that's where
Yeah,
I agree on. He's just got so many issues, and people aren't going to want to help him.
fair enough. All right, well, I do appreciate you coming by. As usual, I want to move the program on, but you're welcome
All
back
right,
anytime,
man.
man.
I love your content, by the way. So keep
Thank you.
going.
Absolutely. You're welcome back anytime. A pleasure talking to you, man.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right. Okay, look. That gentleman, Florida Patriot, you're saying, so let's debate, and what has Biden done? If you want someone that's going to defend Biden, you see my name and you instantly think that I'm going to defend all things liberal. That doesn't happen on this broadcast. I call a strike no matter who's at bat. I can call a spade no matter who is holding the cards. Biden's administration so far, in my opinion, your humble correspondent, has been a failure. Period. So if you want to debate what the good things that Biden has done, take your device and swipe it to another live stream. That is not what we're here for. You want liberals that are going to promote and defend all things liberal. That's not what I'm doing here. If you want me to just simply bash Trump, we do not do that here either. I point out credit and I take away credit based on what I have seen, and I talk about that with the viewers. I like to talk to the folks. I like to hear other people's opinions, which is why I told you would never be blocked here. Looking at the comments, Sky says Trump is a traitor, not a leader. You believe the former president, number 45, has been a traitor to the nation? Wow. I guess I would have to ask that you elaborate on that. I'm assuming January 6th is in there somewhere, but I'd like to hear your opinion. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Once again, let's go back to the box. Big Ivy, a frequent talk before. Big Ivy, let's bring Big Ivy on. Okay, Big Ivy, what's on your mind? I assume you've been listening to the program?
Yeah, I just started a few minutes ago, and
okay.
I was just thinking.
Okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'll give you the spiel on the program. The program is we're assuming Trump runs on the ticket in 2024, and we're giving him the likelihood of being reelected. Now, I get that's all speculation. We can argue all day long about Trump will never win or never run, whatever. But I'm asking, if he was to be reelected, what would America be like with a second Trump term? And I'm pointing out, I'm giving him credit and suggesting, and once again, we could argue whether this will happen or not, but we're going to assume that he could turn the economy around. And I use the examples, Knots Landing, Dynasty, the Colbys, 1980s soap operas, whereas everyone on those programs had a good bank account. They were all living with a good economy, yet they all dealt with chaos, backstabbing, corruption. Hell, JR got shot, if you remember the Dallas soap opera. So what I'm pointing out is that at the end of the day, they lived under the phrase, money does not guarantee happiness. If Trump is reelected, could we find ourselves in one of those 80 soap operas?
Yeah, I believe Democrats will set up more riots and controversies and stuff like that, because if you listen to the hearings, nobody got arrested for that noose. Remember that noose that come out?
Yeah.
And
but Mike Pence.
Yeah, and the dude that was supposed to put out the bombs, they got him on video, but they didn't arrest him.
Let me give it to you this way. And folks, get my likes up. I'm trying to get at least 5,000 help. Some of you might even be patriotic enough to give your boy double digits, but tap the screen, get my likes up. Let me come at you this way, Big Ivy. I get the notion that the Democrats, the liberals, are going to try to go after Trump. That's kind of what politics is. Both sides go after the other. But I'm asking this question in regards to the Republicans. Will Trump be able to circle the wagons and get unity within his own party? We're not talking about the liberals. I understand the liberals will go after him. But keep in mind, if Trump is reelected, he has people that he believes are rhinos and enemies to his own campaign. Folks who did not go his way on both impeachments. Folks who did not believe the election was taken from him. Folks who did not speak out in favor of him on January 6th. He is going to target those people. They all have R's, not D as in Delta, R as in Republican. They all have R's behind their name. Can he unify the Republican Party?
Yeah, if we get rid of some of those rhinos like Mitch McConnell that said there's more Trump supporters trying to break in the Capitol, use your guns, kill them. I think he needs to go, and needs to go. Didn't Mitch McConnell, not Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham said they're coming in, use your guns, kill them.
Okay, Lindsey Graham is talking about taking the life of who?
People breaking in the Capitol.
So you're suggesting that Lindsey Graham suggested taking the life of the MAGA protesters that went in the Capitol building?
Yes. Yeah, that's all over the news. I think it was.
Okay. So in regards to Lindsey Graham, because you're MAGA, right? You supported Trump, right? Okay. Yes. What is your opinion of Lindsey Graham?
I think he's a fair weather friend.
Okay. So is he dependable?
No,
Okay.
no.
Would you prefer to see him maintain his status or him to be voted out?
Him to be voted out. Kissinger voted out. There's a bunch of them.
Okay. And by the way, Kissinger is claiming he's getting death threats from other
Yeah,
Republicans, by the way.
he got a letter in the mail with his handwriting, and he's not going to go to jail for it.
You said he got a letter in the mail with his own handwriting on it.
Yeah, yeah. All the G's look the same, and the H's look weird, and they was all the same.
Oh my God, that's funny. I did not know that. I didn't hear about that, but that's pretty funny. But he is claiming that he's receiving death threats, even if you're suggesting he's writing them to himself. Um, But that because I understand Kavanaugh with now those are liberals in front of Kavanaugh's house. Those are liberals potentially trying to assassinate the guy. But in regards to Kinzinger, now we're talking Republican on Republican violence. And you suggested whether it's Lindsey Graham, Kissinger, or Mitch McConnell, or Mitt Romney, them having to go. The point is, all of these folks are not going to lose their job in the 4 years Trump has left. So can Trump get anything done with several Senator Manchin likes? Because Senator Manchin is a ball in the wax for Biden. Trump would have several Joe Manchins on his side. So when he says the goal is to make America great, can you do that with so many detractors in your own party?
I say if we get the House and Senate looks like we're going to, with the big wave coming,
Right.
because Biden has screwed America up with, everything.
Okay. I can agree that 2022, the year we're in now, a few months from now, November, I can agree that it is highly likely that there will be a red wave in 2022. I don't, as a liberal, you know how I feel about that, whatever. But I do believe, based on the performance of the Biden administration, that is far more likely than not. But if we do get a red wave in 2022, how many of those folks are Trump still going to assume is an enemy? A lot of those could be Republicans, and he may not like them.
I don't know.
Okay,
That's
fair.
a hard call.
Say that again.
I said that's a hard call.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that even if you get a red wave, if you then elevate Trump back into the White House and he does not get along with the people that were part of that red wave, you may not get any of the legislation that you're hoping for in 2024. You get my point?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Big Eye. Go ahead.
They just need to give them a chance, because we got bigger fish to fry than January 6th. We got wars looming everywhere around the world. Like Iran's fixing to come with a bomb in like 2 or 3 weeks. They want to get rid of Israel. British people want to put troops in over in, what is that? Damn. Never mind.
British want to put troops. You're saying the Brits want to put troops somewhere else now?
In Ukraine, yeah.
Okay,
And,
yeah, that is
Russia
true.
don't
Yeah.
want to have it. Russia said, we'll wipe you out off the face of the earth. You do that.
Keep in mind, in regards to the Brits wanting to put troops in the Ukraine, it was Russia, America, and Great Britain that teamed up together. Those three, which are the same three from World War II, that told the Ukrainians, we would make sure things were fine with you if you give up your Soviet era nukes. The Ukrainians listened to the big three. Who the hell would not think that they would have your back? Russia, the United States, and Britain is offering to look out for you. That's like getting, John Gotti and and Don Corleone offering to give you protection. That sounds fantastic. But then once they gave up their Soviet era nukes, Putin came up with an excuse to go in there, and now they're in chaos because they listened to this group, and one member of that group decided to attack him. It sounds like both the United States, with all of the weapons, with all of the money we've given them, and now you're mentioning Great Britain sending troops. It sounds like the United States and Great Britain. It's trying to hold their end of the deal. So that's what that sounds like. I don't know if we say it's war, but obviously Russia violated their terms of agreement.
Yeah, Russia just don't want nuclear weapons right at their border. And
Then they shouldn't have put them in there. Then you saying that Russia doesn't want nuclear weapons at their border? The response is they should not have put them in that country then. Those are Soviet era nukes that they got from the Soviet Union when Russia was in charge. If you don't want them to have, they didn't expect the Soviet Union to fall apart. That's what happened.
Yeah, but like I said, Russia don't want them nukes right there, and we're wanting to put them in there, and Russia's not going to have that.
Yeah.
So they're going to take that over or something. Russia's all out for war right now.
Well, at the end of the day,
have their back.
Wait, say that again?
I said China is going to have their back.
You think China would side with the Russians?
Yeah, they promote it.
Well, I would tell you this, if China decides to side with the Russians, they can forget about all that national debt. Before you know it, whoever's in office, whether it's Biden or Trump, would be bragging about they dropped the national debt, the lowest in world history. Because the minute China decides to side with the Russians against the United States, they can forget about that national debt. We don't owe them shit anymore at that point. So I don't think the Chinese want to get involved in it from that aspect.
Well, we get 95% of our medication from China. I don't think we want to mess that up either.
Well, I will say this. World War II showed what the United States can do if they're pushed into a corner. Everybody talks about the Second Amendment and guns, but at the same time, if they started playing games with medication and all of that, you would be amazed at how we would start medical facilities would pop up everywhere. Remember when COVID started, how hard it was to get a mask? We were using, and I understand my audience is not big on masks, whatever. We're not here to debate whether masks work. I'm just making it clear to you. When COVID started, people were using head rags and every damn thing else they could use. They were ripping their underwear apart for elastic to make masks. Look how quick America galvanized and started producing masks. Every company in the damn country started contributing to the mask mandate. If they played games with our medicine, you would be amazed at where pills and drugs will start coming from in this country. So I don't think that China wants to do that. I do believe they would realize that these folks would find another way to, hey, if you take away something, they'll find another way. Isn't that what the Second Amendment folks say? You take away the drugs in America, we will find another way to produce them.
Right. I agree with you.
Fair enough. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming through, Big Ivy. You know how it is on the program. Anytime, you're welcome back.
All right. Nice listening to you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Good to have you on. Okay. Now, so that's what we're talking about. Would America be, I guess, happy-go-lucky under a second Trump administration? Your pockets are doing well. Your bottom line is doing well. We're going to assume that Trump could turn the economy around. I understand that is debatable. I understand a lot of you would present an argument about that. But we're asking about the morality and just the mindset of the country as a whole. Would we be better off with a second Trump administration? I will use the same example I've used a couple times before. Dynasty, the Colbys, Dallas, Knots Landing. I'm an 80s guy. What else can I tell you? But I'm pointing out soap operas from the 80s. And we can talk about the 90s, your Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place, and for my woke crowd, Queer as Folk. I'm just pointing out in the soap operas, Falcon Crest, I see someone said, in the soap operas, one thing they all had in common. No one was poor. The economy, the bottom line for every single character in a soap opera is doing well. Yet there is a ton of chaos, backstabbing, corruption. JR in Dallas got shot. Remember the Who Shot JR campaign? I think Taco Bell had it or something. What I'm pointing out is that if Trump comes back, could we find ourselves living in an episode of Dynasty or Falcon Crest or Knots Landing? Going back to the box. Freedom Foxtrot. I do believe we spoke. I want to find out, what do you guys think? A second Trump term. How would it be? Freedom Foxtrot doing this afternoon.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. You been listening to the program?
Yes, sir. Only maybe the last 7 to 10 minutes.
I can live with that. So what do you think? A second coming of Trump. You think he could rally the Republican Party and make us great? You think that he would get cooperation from his own party? And I'm asking that because there's a lot of Republicans in office that either did not back him through the first or second impeachment, that did not agree with him that the election was not held properly, that are not speaking on his behalf of January 6th. Trump tends to operate on revenge politics. If you don't side with him, he goes after you. Could Trump run
No.
a second campaign successfully going after so many Republican enemies? That's the question we're asking.
You know, I and this is just my opinion.
That's what we
I
want.
think I think both sides are willing to burn the country down to get what they want.
Do you include Trump in that mix?
No, I think at some point he would be. So let's put it this way: the what we saw when Trump ran last time was that people were throwing temper tantrums and causing all kinds of things, like the Russia scandal. I mean, he was battling like no president has before. And my concern is it would be like that again.
And that was the question that I'm asking you, because you're not the first to come on the program and say they never gave Trump a chance from day one. And that's what I'm asking. If he assumes power again, and he's already been on multiple campaigns fighting against folks, everybody he fights against or campaigns against. Now we're talking about Republicans. We're not talking about liberals here, folks. But every Republican that Trump has won on a campaign and fought against is not going to lose. Governor Kemp in Georgia is a perfect example. So if Trump gets reelected, are those Republican politicians that he tried to get kicked out of office going to work with him? Is he going to continue targeting them, continue saying negative things about them at his rallies? How can there be cohesive cooperation in the Republican Party if the leader is battling with other members of the party?
Well, I don't think it's possible, and that goes for both sides. Both sides, their job is to work together the best they can because we voted them in, and that's not what's happening. They're taking off on their own agenda, right? Because most of
Well,
us,
I get the both sides argument in this, even though we're talking about Republicans, but I understand the notion to want to bring the liberals into it. But I will say this: when you look at the Liberal Party, taking out Joe Manchin, and I believe there's one other woman, one other female senator, there is not a lot of division at the same level in the Democratic Party amongst each other as there is in the Trump Party. And I would say that a lot of that, even and let's be clear, the Biden's poll numbers, what liberals are not great, but Biden himself is not going on stage and speaking negatively, even of Joe Manchin. He's not attacking Joe Manchin. And let's be real, folks. I don't care how far you're in the MAGA camp. There is no denying, it is not debatable one bit that if President Trump had a Joe Manchin in his party, voting against him 30% of the time, it would not even be safe for Joe Manchin to go to a nearby burger joint. Biden is not speaking like that about Joe Manchin. So that's the
well,
point
but
I'm trying to make.
here's the problem is and with all due respect, Biden doesn't have the brain power to do it if he wanted.
You're
Uh,
not the only one to
but
argue that.
he is uh, he is attacking the American people, though.
Yeah.
When I'm so disappointed in what our representatives are doing. You know, I I can't emphasize enough how disappointed I am. And I'm concerned because look at me and you, right? We've had several good conversations. We're,
Absolutely.
I'm a staunch conservative, like right down to the nitty gritty, right? Like I'm a constitutionalist. And then you have
Okay.
your, what, and I haven't learned them all, um, but you are a little more liberal, and
Yes,
we get along just fine.
absolutely.
And that's how our leaders should be. And anyone that doesn't get along needs to leave.
Let me give you the secret to that. And you guys
Okay?
can tell me to go to hell, whatever. I always welcome dissension. Here's the secret to that. Every fight you're invited to, you do not have to show up. I'm a liberal and I absolutely adore my MAGA audience, but there is no shortage of folks who see my name and call me everything under the son of God. And if you notice, you never hear me throw the same things back at them. That is the secret. If President Trump, with all of the great economy and the things he was doing for this country economically, could simply take that advice, he would still be in office and he would probably go down in history as one of the best presidents ever. You do not need to show up at every fight you're invited to. Does that make any sense?
Well, absolutely. My thought is the goal was to go in and get rid of all of the corruptness, get rid of the swamp. He was going to drain the swamp.
Right.
And there's no good way to do that.
You can do it without the insults and the name calling.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with
Start
that.
there.
Our president should be holding his head high. He should be mature, and he should represent us the best he can, and that goes for both sides.
Yeah.
And
And I'll let you continue, but I wanted somebody else said something that I thought was interesting. Looks like here's Johnny. We talk often. He said, "You want to see hate and name calling? Check out any other liberals live." I'm not going to disagree with you, Johnny. I will just say this: there's a hell of a difference between a guy like me and my little tiny social media corner and the president of the United States. If you got to compare the activities of the president of the United States to some dude on TikTok with less than 1,000 viewers, that should show you the problem. You had to lower the bar that damn low for your point to even work. That's where you need to start. Fix that, and I think you could proceed further. Continue, Freedom.
yeah, no, I could agree with all of that. Absolutely. So we were talking about if Trump comes back. Um, you know, I I guess I'm just concerned. Um, our
That's all
country.
you need to say. That really fits the bill. You can you standing right in front of the destination and like I'm trying to figure out where we're going and I can see the destination right behind you. You've arrived. I
Yeah,
think you stated your point perfectly there.
yeah.
Listen, and at the end of the day, folks, anybody who watches me regularly knows I do not just bash Trump inadvertently all day, every day. I speak positively of Trump where I think there is positivity due. However, I don't think the name calling, I understand my audience, my beloved audience, you guys absolutely love the name calling. I'm just saying that keep in mind his name calling has went further than just attacking liberals who you don't believe have a shit clue about running the country to attacking people that you used to normally love, like the McCains, the Bushes, and folks. He is now cannibalizing your side of the aisle, people that you're going to
Well,
lead in 2024.
I have to say that he single-handedly woke up the entire country and the world
Yeah.
to what is going on. I didn't. I wasn't aware of all of the the backroom deals. I'll admit, I didn't have a clue compared to what I do now. And, I will always thank him for that, even though we are going to go through some serious hardships here very soon.
Well, I will say this though. There is a reason why a lot of us Americans have not seen the backroom deals. I guess I would look at it like a child. If I show you how these hot dogs are made, you're probably not going to like hot dogs anymore. So I don't want to ruin your lunch by telling you how all of these backdoor deals are made. It's very similar to whether we're talking about CRT and some of these other issues in regards to American history. We're the best country on earth, finest nation there is. If you start actually showing how the sausage was made, how we became the best country on earth, it's going to turn the stomach of a lot of Americans. So that's why
Well,
I
and
believe that
maybe
has
it
happened.
should. Maybe it should, right? Like, we need people that know what's going on, and we need people to have common sense. And everybody is it seems like they're corralled up and put through a just like cattle, and they don't have to learn that common sense, and it's caused a major problem. And the thing I wanted to ask you genuinely, like,
Okay.
what would be your ideal, let's say tomorrow you picked who ran the country and what happened, what would you pick?
Right now on the liberal side of the aisle, I don't have a strong candidate. And I do remember the 22 candidates running in 2020 alongside Joe Biden. I liked Andrew Yang, believe it or not, strictly because of his math. And that was his joke. I'm an Asian, so I know numbers. Just like with Trump, you want a businessman, you want somebody that can go with economics. I like the
Yes.
numbers from Andrew Yang. From the
Okay.
right, it's, I think Ron DeSantis is about as clear as a bright light on a dark ocean. For
Absolutely.
anybody that would choose Trump over DeSantis, you're just blinded by MAGA. And I hate saying it because I know my fucking audience is all MAGA and I love you guys, but DeSantis
Well,
is your man.
yep. And here's
So why?
the thing. I think you know, I think a lot of
But
people would vote for DeSantis. I would hope that they didn't go against each other, because that would cause a major problem.
Well,
Um,
with
and
all due respect, that's what the entire broadcast is about, is the fact that Trump himself can turn hearts and minds. I believe I'm 100% with you. The Republican Party would wholeheartedly go behind DeSantis, but Trump, if he does not get Trump's endorsement, I believe Trump could cause a lot of rift
yep,
for
yep,
DeSantis.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Trump has a lot of push now, um, and it's because he woke up people like me, and now we're paying attention to what's going on in our country. We're not on autopilot anymore.
Yeah, and I see Super Slim in the comments wrote DeSantis versus Trump in 2024. That would probably be the worst match the Republican
Yep,
Party has ever seen. And the reason I
yep,
say this is because you would take otherwise what could be easily a two-term candidate in DeSantis, just like Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was guaranteed to receive the top of the ticket. Jeb Bush
yep,
was. He went up
yep,
against Trump and his whole career is gone. Mike Pence, whole career gone. Hillary Clinton, whole career gone. Point is, going up against Trump is hazardous for your career. No matter how much you're in the favorite, no matter how much you're in the lead, going up against Trump is a danger, which is why I believe DeSantis, although he knows he would easily be a huge favorite, is probably going to give Trump a wide berth for 2024. And just simply look, he's
yeah,
young enough he can run in 2028. So why risk ruining your career Jeb Bush style? Let this guy do whatever the hell he's going to do in 2024. If he wants to give me an endorsement, yeah, I'll step up. But I'm not going to challenge this guy because it's almost
right,
like committing crimes in Vegas without getting the permission of the mob bosses back home. My life
Yeah,
could be in
and
danger.
I don't think DeSantis would do that at all.
I don't think so either.
In fact, I'm sure they talk all the time, and it's like, why mess with a good thing, right? They know Trump can come back, and they know Trump could win as long as the elections are fair, and then right after that, DeSantis could come in, and I think that is likely to happen.
Well, let
Um,
me tell you this though. I get your point. Trump comes in, turns things around, then DeSantis comes in for 8 years. That is the lucky rabbit's foot. That's what you want. But keep in mind with Trump's division. Just like Trump served with a really good economy in 2016 to 2020, and he still lost. I know my audience do not think he lost. That's a different debate. But what I'm pointing out is Trump
yeah.
has a way of snatching defeat from victory. He may run in 2024, win, and do something so horrible with the country that DeSantis may lose just simply because of how divisive Trump was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the let me ask you, um, have you watched thoroughly everything that's been brought up about the elections? Like, did you watch
from which
the?
side? Which side? The right side of the aisle or the left?
Um, I would say obviously it's going to be on the right side because I haven't seen the left, in all honesty, say anything but repetitive. It was a fair and blah 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 election.
Well, I
I,
think
I
that's a
I
fair
spent
point. I get your point. I've watched 2,000 Mules, I
okay
think 7 times now. I've
okay
watched Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium, all 3 days of it, and I've listened to all the evidence Trump has presented. And then I get folks emailing me things all the time. So I haven't seen 100% of everything presented, but I've seen a lot. And
that's that's enough to probably make a decision.
yeah,
And
I've seen a
and
lot.
you're and I know you're genuine. Um, uh, and what is your true thought? Your honest, true thought about it?
Fair question. My honest thought is that I think Dinesh D'Souza probably did a better job to convince folks that something nefarious may have taken place. Certainly better than Mike Lindell, and even better than Trump himself. I think Trump's problem is he's first of all, he claimed fraud too soon. He claimed fraud even while the election was going on. And he also made it clear before the election even started that he was not going to concede no matter what. So he came across as
Yeah.
biased. Like, if you don't win, you're gonna claim fraud. So to me, that
Well,
discredited. Go ahead.
but hold on, people forget, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
People forget that Mr. President is briefed, several times a day, and
Okay.
he's aware of what's going on, and I think they had a pretty good idea of some of the things that happened. Um, my opinion is anybody touching an election, even by one vote, should be in prison for a very long time.
Okay, and
Uh,
I
both
don't
sides.
disagree. I don't disagree with thoroughly punishing election fraud. Here's why I say I have an issue with Trump, and then we'll get to Mike Lindell and Dinesh D'Souza. With
Okay.
Trump, first of all, Trump came to power in 2015 saying the election was rigged. He served for 4 years and lost in what he claimed was another rigged election. So that's the first thing. What did you do to fix the integrity of the election while you're in office since you claimed the power before getting elected and saying it was rigged? So you did nothing to secure the integrity of the election. Second thing is, he stated that for the most part, he was not going to concede if he lost. Now, you say it's because he got information inside. Fair enough. We can go with whatever. Third thing is, he even told Dr. Oz, while his election was still being counted, to just step up and claim victory, even though Dr. Oz had no legitimate reason to do so. It becomes clear that
Oh,
Trump has a pattern or a belief that you should just say you won regardless of what the truth is.
and I don't understand why he even thought Dr. Oz had a chance. We saw
Well, he
through
did
that
win.
guy. Well, I don't know how. Uh, that just shows how much power Trump has, and
Yeah.
people aren't using their brains. Maybe Dr. Oz is going to do a good job, but I tell you what, I would not have taken the chance on him
Well,
because
Trump wants to put people in there that's going to agree with the Trump agenda. So if you think Trump is a good leader and you got people who are going to follow behind him no matter what he says, then he's creating essentially clones, many clones of himself, people who are just going to sign yes to his policies. And that's the goal, is to that way, if you think he's a good leader and he got all these clones all over the place, then you're going to get his legislation.
well, as long as he follows what the people want to the T. That's the other thing. These people making up laws and doing their own thing. I really wish that people would step up and take these people out. I'm such a firm believer in when you don't do what the people say, you you've gone on your own and to do your own thing, whether it's big or small. I still think of that as tyrannical, right? Like I I still think of it as, and I know it's a strong word. I know it is, but
Yeah.
when you're in a strong position, you know, anyone in any of those seats are so important, and when they're going off and they're going rogue, to me that is tyrannical.
Okay, fair. Well, I gotta move it on. I gotta part ways with you, but I got one question before you go in regards to your. If you don't agree with if you don't give the people what they want, it's like implementing tyranny. What do you
Yeah.
think of the Supreme Court potentially rolling back Roe versus Wade, even though 70% of Americans support some form of pro-choice, even if it's just in the first trimester?
Well, the courts are a different thing. They are there to follow the law. Um, One thing that I don't understand
They're not, wait,
is,
wait, wait. They're not there to follow the law. They're there to interpret the law and rule
yes,
on it.
you are correct. Yes, that's a
Okay.
better way to say it.
Okay.
What I don't understand is why people are so upset that the power is going to go back to the states. Yes, there's going to be some states that say, nope, you can't do it here, but you could go to the next state, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yes, but I'll let you continue, and I gotta move it on. Even though I drop you, I will continue. I will respond to what you just said in detail.
Okay.
So, fair enough. All right, I'll move it on and go to the box in the. Now, that is a very common statement. They're not trying to ban abortion; they're just trying to return it to states' rights. From your humble correspondent, the guy who can see both sides of an issue. This is my claim to fame. I can call a strike both ways, regardless of who's at the plate. Is it a return to states' rights? You know what that sounds like to me? We're just trying to limit high capacity magazines or pass common sense gun legislation. We're not coming for all your guns. At the end of the day, if you take away the AR-15 and gun deaths go down and folks start using handguns to commit crimes, the next logical step is going after handguns. So when they tell you we're not trying to take away all guns, you should be hearing Beto O'Rourke scream to your ear. You're damn right we're going for your guns. I'm just being honest, even from a liberal. Now, how does this tie into what he just suggested? We're not trying to ban abortion. It's just a states' rights ploy. If you pass legislation returning abortion rights back to the states, and all a woman has to do is cross a river or drive down the road and have an abortion 20 or 30 miles away, you can see the building she's going in. But because it's across state lines, you have to let her go. That building to the evangelicals will look like Auschwitz towers with smoke coming out of them. The notion that the evangelicals or the right is going to be okay with people being able to cross states lines and have an abortion just because it's in a different state is a fairy tale. At the end of the day, just like with guns, it's going to lean towards a complete and total abortion ban. I'll give you an example. Right now, the state of Missouri has a law on the books because they are right next to a very abortion-friendly state in the state of Illinois. They have a law on the books that the moment a woman conceives, that child inside of her now becomes a resident of the state of Missouri. An actual representative from the state of Missouri stated that we want to ensure that if a person goes to another state and something happens to one of our residents, they can be held accountable to what happened to that resident. You're going to tell me that it's okay with states lying or state rights for Missouri? And they're already passing a law so that if a mom goes into Illinois, a mother-to-be goes into Illinois and has a pregnancy termination, the minute she comes back to Missouri, she'll face a warrant for her arrest for damaging or harming that resident inside of her. So don't ever believe, and I know I'm talking to a MAGA audience, so be damn what I'm saying. I get it. You don't necessarily agree with me. That's fine. I encourage and invite dissension, but make it clear. This is a stepping stone towards a complete abortion ban. It is the same thing as the Second Amendment. Give them an inch, they will take a mile. My entire audience is familiar with that phrase. I got to wrap it up real quick. I'm going to go to the box for one more. This is a new caller, Preacher SL. One more question says Freedom Foxtrot. Type it in the comments. I'll try to get to it. Appreciate the only thing Democrats are good for hating is yes. Freedom, a preacher SL. Good afternoon.
Hey, my brother, how you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
I'm doing just fine. This is to go back to I think it was you had your guest was 2 ago. I think his name was Freedom something at Freedom, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So he said something. Right. He said something about Trump and that his advisors was advising him something, and this is why he said something about the election fraud. So Trump has a history of claiming fraud when he loses. Now, this goes back from when he lost to Enemy. He claimed fraud, right? When he lost in the primary.
Wait. Did he really do that for losing an Emmy Award?
Yes, sir. He lost the Emmy. He for his show. He didn't win anyone. Now, for anyone that's listening, this is not my opinion. I'm not giving opinions because I leave my opinions out of it. I'm only going on what Trump came out of his mouth and said. You guys can pull it up. And this is why in the primary against Hillary Clinton, she said that. She actually said it. When you lost the Emmy, you claimed fraud. And then his reaction was, I should have won. And that was his reaction. And you go back to that primary, to that debate, and you can pull that up if you want. So against Marco Rubio, when he was running in 2015 in the primaries, he lost to Marco Rubio, and he tweeted fraud. Okay? So he had
who lost to Marco Rubio? What did you say again?
Right. So when he was running against Marco Rubio, in the Republican primaries, he must have lost against Rubio.
In the state of Florida. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Correct. He tweeted it was a fraud, and that's why he lost. Okay, that was his tweet. So anything I'm saying for all of your listeners, it's not my opinion. This is just how Trump comes out and what he said. Yeah. Now, of course, when he ran against Biden, just like you said, leading up to it, he said, if I lose, it's because someone's cheating. Is it be a fraud? Yeah. So no matter if he loses, he's always going to claim fraud. Now, you know what? There could have been 10, 15, 20 million election frauds. It literally could have been that. But because Trump always claims that, it's hard to believe him. Now, was there election fraud? Of course there was, but there wasn't enough to overturn an election. So this is for the MAGAs that are in the comments. You guys will say, well, what about what Rudy Giuliani found and what my pillow guy found and everybody. But the court system said one thing. No matter what they said, if you notice, when they went to court, they never claimed fraud. Now, on my page, I have a transcript from Trump's lawyers in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, and his lawyer specifically said, we are not claiming fraud. Because once you go against those judges and you stand up there, you can't say the same thing you tweet. You cannot do that. Because now, right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you cannot.
Dana Perino on Fox News, and I'm assuming most of my audience on the right knows who Dana Perino is, a former Bush spokesperson. She said the same
Correct.
thing that she said the same thing. She said the Trump advisors and the Trump lawyers on TV and at the rallies, what they're saying on TV and at the rallies is not what they're telling the judges in court. And it's to what you're talking about, is that they're claiming fraud on TV and at the rallies, but when they go before judges, they're not using that word. That is, yeah, I heard that about a year ago.
Correct. Now, one more thing. Now, this is also for the guys that I voted for Biden, but I can't stand Biden. But Biden and Trump, basically, I don't like, because my thing is I'm tired of seeing old men running the country. When I have a huge problem with old. I have no problem with old people. So anyone old, I have no problem with you. You're the greatest. But old people running the country, we should dial that down. I think we got a problem with. We should dial it down.
You think it should be corruption on. You think it should be an age limit on being the president? What would you limit it to?
Absolutely. It's a stressful job. It's a stressful job. So it should be maybe 65. After 65, you shouldn't be able. I think it should be 65. That's a stressful job. That's not an easy job. That job ain't easy.
I agree.
So if out here in the street, we don't have 70-something-year-old men running backhoes and doing a whole lot of stressful jobs. We bring that, we dial that down. Your surgeon that's supposed to save your life ain't 78 years old. And, get that. No, he's not. He's not. So I think that should be dialed down. There's corruption on both sides, whether it's Pelosi, whether it's Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey. Yes, there is. But the problem I have, my brother, and I'm going to close with this, is that when Republicans come and they talk, they never see it from their side. They can always turn their back on what their own politicians are doing. And they can always go, well, it's the other side. And when I hear that, I automatically feel, oh, that's a tribalism. These guys are part of a tribalism where they're only going to see it from their side, and they're never going to see it from the other side. Will Trump run in 2024? There's a huge chance. And the only reason, my brother, that a lot of people, I think, vote for Trump is because Trump hates the people that they hate.
Okay.
I think it's more hating the people that they hate.
Could be. I don't disagree with that. That could be some validity to that.
That's my opinion. Now, that part there, for you people that's watching, is my opinion. Therein lies where my opinion is right there. That's my opinion.
I appreciate it. Well, you definitely lived up to your name. I appreciate you coming through. I'd love to have you back on anytime, man.
And my brother, here's a little tidbit. That's actually my real name. That's my real government last name. See, yes, sir. I'm strong enough to say that.
Your birth certificate says preacher on it.
That's my last name. That is actually my last name. Okay. And you know why I put my last name on there? Because I don't say anything hateful or anything besides that. So I show my face and everything is because I stand by what I say, and there's no hate. So I have the courage. I have the courage to put my whole self on there.
Well, it was a delight to have you on. Come on back anytime. I love hearing from you, man.
Thank you, my brother. I watch you all the time, man.
Oh, it's
God
an
bless.
honor. It's an honor. Have a good one.
All right, then.
That was an interesting. Now, somebody asked me, "Do you read the comments?" Yes, I do. And I will say this: when I'm engaged with the guests, I obviously have to have two trains of thought going on. Well, actually, three. I got to read the comments. I certainly got to listen to my guests to make sure I'm engaged. But oftentimes, I'm also formulating a rebuttal. I mean, after all, this is an audience from the other side of the aisle, so it's a three-part deal. Listen, folks, this is a lunch break broadcast, so as usual, this is around the time I wrap things up. This was a really good back and forth. No denying my MAGA crowd showed up. What is that? 15,000 likes. Damn. Thank you. Damn. Patriots everywhere. But once again, you always get a chance to get your spiel in. This is a no snowflake zone. I invite free speech, even when it's dissension. Freedom Foxtrot, I did see you in the box for a second time. I apologize for not getting around you for that second time. I will be back at 7 p.m. Central. That's the time we do this every night, Monday through Friday. Catch you guys later. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal.